Hello students. Today we will start with the second part of current electricity. In first part we have learned so many things regarding Ohm's law, cell, current, drift velocity, etc. In this we will talk about some electrical devices which are very useful for the measurement purposes. Now going to the next part of the same, we'll study here Kirchhoff laws of electricity, Wheatstone bridge, meter bridge, potentiometer, its principle, and we will do the application also, comparison of primary cells, etc. So we are starting with the first Kirchhoff law. This first law is also known as current law or junction law. The algebraic sum of electric current at a junction in any electrical network is always zero. It may want to say what actually? You can say see that two currents I1 and I4, they are coming on the same point, whereas three currents I5, I2, I3, which are shown by the red color, they are going out. So if you take incoming currents positive and outgoing currents negative and you add them, then the total answer will be zero, like this. I1 and I4 we have taken positive because it was coming towards the junction. I2, I3 and I5 we have taken negative because they are going away from the junction. If you add them, total answer will be zero. This is actually junction law, first law, current law. That is the algebraic sum of electric current at a junction in any electrical network is always zero. Move to the next. Sign convention, the incoming current towards the junctions are taken positive and the outgoing currents away from the junction are always taken to be negative. Now there is one note, the charges cannot accumulate at a junction. The number of charges that arrives at a junction in a given time must leave in the same time in accordance with the conservation of charges. It means we cannot say that the charges are accumulating at a junction. It says that how many numbers of charges are coming at a junction in a given time, they should leave at the same time if we have to follow the law of conservation of charge. Now move to the next law of Kirchhoff, second law or voltage law or loop law. The algebraic sum of all the potential drops and EMFs along any closed path in an electrical network is always zero. It means if we add all electric potential in a particular closed path, that means total sum of the voltage, then it is going to be zero. How it can be? In front of you there is one ABCD network in which two cells we have used, E1 and E2. R1, R2 and R3, they are connected with them as shown in the figure. Suppose from E1 I1 current is flowing out and from E2 I2 current is flowing out. Now when these two currents I1 and I2 will meet at a point A, definitely they will be added up. That's why in R2 I1 and I2 current will flow. Now remember one thing, it's very important. At point C, when this sum I1 plus I2 will reach, I2 will not go towards E1 and I1 will not go towards the negative of E2. I1 will go to the negative terminal of E1 and I2 will go to the negative terminal of E2 as like this. Clear? It says what? If a particular current is flowing from positive terminal of any source, it will return back to that source only. It means it will move towards its negative terminal. Now what this law says, that if we add the voltage in a closed loop, any loop you can take, the total sum will be zero. How it will be? And remember one more thing, except sources, in any component from where the current will enter, that terminal become positive, and from where it leaves out, that terminal become negative. This you have to remember always. Now they have used a loop law, you can see that there is one circle was moving like this. It is moving in a clockwise sense. So if it is moving in the clockwise sense, now you have taken loop ABCA. Now if I move in the direction CBAC, I can move in the direction CABC also or CBAC also, or again I can go like this ABCA, or I can move like this BACB. It's my choice how I move, but according to the equation which is written there, ABCA, actually we have taken the path as in the way that the current where it is entering, that terminal will become positive, and where it will leave, it will become negative. Now I will try to show you from the with the help of the figure that here if you see I1 plus I2 is entering in plus in R2, so this terminal of R2 become plus and this terminal of R2 become minus. Similarly, as I2 is entering in this R3, that's why this terminal becomes positive and this terminal of R3 becomes negative. In the same way in R1, this terminal, because I1 is entering here, so it becomes plus and this terminal becomes negative. Remember one thing. Now we move to the next part now. So suppose I am moving in the direction. First I take I1 R1. I told you that I1 is entering in R1. Suppose we have taken the direction CBAC. According to this equation, they have taken the direction CBAC. So I1 is entering in R1. That's why this terminal of R1, from where it is entering, it is positive. So this terminal become plus. That's why it is plus I1 R1. Now when this current will reach over there towards E1, negative of E1 you will get first. That's why it is written negative of E1. Now I1 plus I2 is entering in R2 and this terminal is positive. I told you this terminal is positive. That's why it is written plus I1 plus I2 into R2. It means we have taken I1 plus I2 R2 as a voltage across R2. If we add it, the answer will be 0. The answer will be 0. So I hope that you have cleared this doubt in your mind. Now we can go to the another also. We have taken another current loop now. Now loop ACDA. Now in this loop they have started in this direction. That's why when you move in this direction, you will find you will get first plus of E2. That's why plus E2 is written over here. As I told you that I2 is entering in R3, this terminal is positive and this terminal is negative. So what you will get? First the negative terminal of R3. That's why you will get minus of I2 R3. It is here. Now move to the next terminal. As I told you that this terminal will be positive because current is entering, and here it will be negative because it is leaving. And when you move from C to A, you will get first negative terminal. That's why minus of I1 plus I2 into R2. This is the third action or third point. If you add them, the total answer will be what? 0, which is written over here. Now move to the next point. Sorry. Now next, sign conventions. The EMF is taken negative when we transfers from positive to negative terminal of the cell through the electrolyte. Second, the EMF is taken positive when we transfers from negative to positive terminal of the cell through the electrolyte. And the potential fails along the direction of current in a current path, and it rises along the direction opposite to the current path, which I was describing you. It is same actually. So if you follow that rule also, you will get the same answer. Not a big deal. third says potential fall is taken positive, the potential rise is taken as positive, and potential fall is taken as negative. Now there is one note: the path can be traverse in clockwise or anti-clockwise direction of the loop. As I was telling you that you can take any of the route while moving in a network. Now there is next Wheatstone bridge. Wheatstone bridge is a device which actually says that if you can see there are four resistance P, Q, RS, and there is one device, galvanometer, is present inside it. Galvanometer is a device which actually measure the direction of flow of current, in which direction it is flowing. So we have connected this bridge type structure to a source of EMF E. Now what this Wheatstone says that if the ratio P by Q is equal to R by S, if this ratio are equal, P by Q is equal to R by S we get, so no current will flow through the galvanometer. As you can see that from the positive terminal of the cell, one I current is flowing. When it will reach to point A, I1 is going through P. So how much current will go through R? Definitely I minus I1. Now when this I1 will reach to B, IGB. IG means the current in galvanometer will flow in galvanometer, and rest of the current, which is I1 minus IG, will flow through Q. Now when this IG will move towards D and I minus I1 will also move towards D, definitely they will be added up. That's why you will get I minus I1 plus IG. Now at point C, I minus I1 plus IG is coming from one side, I1 minus IG is coming from another side. They will cancel out and finally you will get a current I. So current through the arms are assumed by the applying Kirchhoff junction rule, applying Kirchhoff loop 4, this in which the current is moving, that is loop ABDA. What you get, again I am telling you, if you go again with this, so the terminal where current is entering, that becomes positive, this terminal is positive, opposite will be negative. In this current I minus I1 is entering, that's why this is positive. In this will be positive, and in this loop, sorry, in this one also the current will be positive on this resistance from where it is entering actually. So we have taken the loop ABDA. Now if you see, if you are moving from BADA, you will get the negative terminal of P first, so that's why I written minus of I1 P. Clear? Minus of IG into G. Actually this is moving like this. The direction I will tell you, they are moving in this direction. In this direction they are going up. So if they will move in this direction, so first I will get negative terminal of G, because the current IG is entering from top to bottom. The top side of G will be positive and bottom side will be negative. So minus of IG into G, then you will get minus of I1 P, then plus of I minus I1 into R, and total voltage will be 0. Now move to the next point. If we take another loop which is BCDB, again it will be minus of I1 into IG, I1 minus IG into Q, sorry, plus I minus I1 plus IG into S plus IG into G. Now in the next step, if we say that IG is equal to 0, I told you if P by Q is equal to R by S, then IG will be 0, no current will flow. Why current doesn't flow? The reason is this, that when P by Q is equal to R by S, you will get the same voltage at point B also and as at point D also. Potential difference is 0, that's why no current flows actually. So we have assumed that IG is not flowing. So if we put this IG is not flowing in above two equations, what we get? IG terms will be 0, and if you divide this first equation and second equation, you will get P by Q is equal to R by S. Now there is a meter bridge. This meter bridge actually its working is based on the advanced application of Wheatstone bridge. The meter bridge is based on the principle of Wheatstone bridge, that is P by Q is equal to R by S. You will find that there is a kind of bridge we have, and here we have the total connectivity. There is one EMF of E, there is one key K, there is one resistance box R, there is an unknown value of resistance which is X. You can see there is one galvanometer is connected with a wire, and AB is the wire of this meter bridge. Generally it is 100 centimeter, and you can touch this jockey which is J at any point of the wire. Now what it says actually, when the galvanometer current is made zero by adjusting the jockey, if you touch jockey at different points, you will find that galvanometer will show deflection towards the left hand side or right hand side. But at a particular point, it will not show any deflection. The point where it doesn't show any deflection, it is said to be the point of balancing. So when the galvanometer current is made zero by adjusting the jockey position on the meter wire for the given wire values of known and unknown resistance. Known is from resistance box R and unknown is X. So we get R by X is equal to RAJ is equal to RGB. R by X is equal to resistance across AJ section is equal to resistance across BJ section. Same P by Q is equal to R by S. Now R by X will be AJ is equal to JB. AJ is the resistance offered by the section AJ, and BJ RJB is the resistance offered by the section JB. So what you get, R by X, what is AJ? AJ is L, and what is JB? It is 100 minus L. R by X is equal to L divided by 100 minus L. Since resistance is directly proportional to length, that's why what you get, X is equal to R 100 minus L by L. So if you don't know X, you can find a value with the help of the length which is known to us. 100 minus L is also known to us. Resistance box, we also know how much resistance we are putting inside. You can get the value of the same. Now there is another potentiometer. Potentiometer is made up of 400 centimeter wire, 100 centimeter each section covers. So you can see that the 4 divisions are there from A to B. Each section is 100 centimeter, 100 plus 100 plus 100 plus 100. So this totally becomes 400 centimeter. That means it has 4 meter long wire. Now we can connect it like this. It is rheostat is there. Rheostat we use for the constant supply of voltage and current in the circuit. Ammeter is connected. There is one key K. Now there is at point A we have voltmeter, which is further connected with the jockey J. We can touch this jockey at any point of the wire of this potentiometer. Now what it says, suppose it is touching at point J and the length is coming L centimeter. Now the current is flowing like this from positive terminal of the cell. I current is flowing. It is entering in A. Then it will not go in B. Practically it goes, but we assume that a voltmeter is a very high resistance. No current is flowing. That's why we say all the current is flowing in the potentiometer only. And while taking the closed path through key K, rheostat and ammeter, it will again move to the negative terminal of E. Now the principle says what? V is equal to IR, and we know R is equal to rho L by A. If the constant current flows through the potentiometer wire of uniform cross-sectional area A and uniform composition of material rho, then V is equal to KL, or V is directly proportional to I. What it says actually, potentiometer working is that the potential across any section of the potentiometer is directly proportional to its length. So V by L, we will get always a constant value. This is known as potential gradient also. The potential difference across any length of the wire of uniform cross section and uniform composition is proportional to its length when a constant current flows through it. So what you get, as V is directly proportional to I, you will get a straight line between V and I. So this is your potentiometer. Now we are using this potentiometer for the another application. Comparison of EMF using potentiometer. We can use the potentiometer to compare EMF of the cells also. There is one complete setup of potentiometer which we have studied right now. There is one cell E1. It is connected to the wire of potentiometer at point J1 with the help of a jockey. Resistance box is also included, and one galvanometer we have in the circuit along with it. Now what it says that suppose there is another cell also E2. It is also connected with the same resistance box and the same galvanometer, and suppose it is touching the position J2 of the potentiometer. That means J1 is giving no deflection point of E1 and J2 is giving no deflection point of E2. The balance point obtained for the cell when the potential at a point on the potentiometer wire is equal and opposite to the EM of the cell. Now E1 is equal to VAJ1. Suppose if you are getting null deflection at J1, it means whatever the EMF of cell E1 is there, same voltage is there across AJ1, and I is equal to R, same current is flowing, and R will be what? Rho L1 by A. L1 is that length which is till point J1, and A is the area of the wire. E2 will be VAJ2 and it is I R2, which is rho L2 by A. If you divide E1 by E2, you will get L1 by L2. Note, the balance point will not be obtained on the potentiometer wire if the fall of potential along the potentiometer wire is less than the EM of the two cells to be measured. Remember always that how much EMF you are comparing, the voltage drop across the section of the potentiometer should be more than that of. The working of the potentiometer is based on null deflection method, so the resistance of the wire becomes infinite. Thus potentiometer can be regarded as an ideal voltmeter. One more thing is there that potentiometer working is based on the null deflection. It means it will not draw any type of current through it, whereas voltmeter draw. Practically it draws, but ideally it shouldn't draw. But voltmeter draws the current. That's why whatever the voltage shown by the voltmeter is not so exact as compared to potentiometer. Now this is the last part which we have to discuss. Students, please practice it and then solve the questions. Goodbye, students.